did you see that when DB came back and played for us, that they got mad that our fan base was booing her?
I don't believe in booing former players unless they left on like some...
You're observing the precise moment. Sophie Cunningham destroyed a tactic that had been subtly dominating WNBA stories. A lighthearted podcast discussion over Dana Bonner's awkward exit has grown into something much more. Additionally, the gatekeepers of the traditional media are going insane. They would prefer that you ignore this. Sophie recently demonstrated that WNBA players like herself, Caitlin Clark, and the Indiana Fever can manage their own narratives without the help of ESPN, The Athletic, or any of the league's long-standing protected media darlings she avoided. All of the outmoded channels spoke directly to the fans and garnered more genuine interaction in a single year than the majority of seasoned sports journalists could hope for. That is not only unnerving, but existential for a sector of the economy that is based on serving as a go-between for athletes and the general public.
I like DB because like DB was one of my bets when I was in Phoenix, and then we gathered here into Indiana, and like it was kind of a surprise that she was signed to Indiana anyway, and so we'll take her in a heartbeat. Like she's a Hall of Famer, she's a hell of a basketball player, can score.
Leave a hot Sophie remark to show your support for Sophie. Come on. Before delving into how Sophie unintentionally revealed the WNBA's media flaws. Imagine if Thali would appear if players were in charge of their own stories. No anti-Clark spin, biased filtering, or agendas that set teammates against one another. Sophie's recent actions go well beyond the issues surrounding the Bonners. We are witnessing the dawn of a new era that has the potential.
Basketball. I just think, and you know way better than me,
Yeah.
but like, it just feels like people are jealous of this new little wave of...
They are, but I just hate that because like this is what we've always wanted as a league. So like who cares who gets the credit? And if you're smart, you're making money off of them.
Yeah.
Like you are literally making money from the viewership.
And why bully the person who is like not 100% responsible, but like has a huge role in growing your sport?
Dude, and it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Potential to fundamentally alter the narrative surrounding women's basketball. The traditional sports media erected barriers around WNBA coverage for years, selecting which players receive broadcast and which tales are appropriate for the brand. Sophie just demonstrated that the walls are made of wet tissue paper rather than stone. Let's examine how one uncensored podcast episode exposed the system's true weakness and why all of the big sports media outlets are currently rushing to get athlete partnerships before they completely lose the narrative. The numerals were the red flag. Sophie's Instagram and TikTok followings have subtly grown to over 1.1 million and 1.6 million, respectively, surpassing the combined audience of numerous WNBA insider reporters.
I went from I think like
followers, yeah.
350,000 and like maybe 200,000 on TikTok.
You had 200,000 on TikTok a month ago?
No,
Before the fight.
Before the fight, and then I had like 350 on 100,000 on Instagram. Over the night, or over like a day and a half, over 1 million on both. Insane. This is coming from me though, dude. I got tired of seeing myself.
I get it.
And I love myself.
Oh, I get it.
I love myself. I was over.
While ESPN pretended that Caitlin Clark's record-breaking evenings weren't noteworthy, she was busy building that business. This is where the entire game is turned upside down. Sophie didn't kiss the old man's ring to get their guard. She achieved this by using language that true fans can comprehend. Real, competitive, and unrepentant. Sophie went straight to the people, giving them something they weren't receiving from. ESPN's safe for broadcast soundbites, genuineness. While other players put in extra effort to ensure the media kept them in a polished, secure bubble, the power changed at that precise instant. Sophie didn't give a reporter her information in a whisper. She didn't give The Athletic a gift of speed. She didn't even hint at it initially on Twitter. She sat down with her co-hosts on Show Me Something and revealed a shocking revelation that completely turned the Bonner debate upside down. For those who wished to hear it, the unadulterated truth was presented without editors, spin, or corporate PR scripts. In the past, if a player had inside information about shady exits or commotion in the locker room, it would find its way to a beat writer.
But she got to Indiana and she just like really wasn't happy. And like, I want people to be happy. So that's why I'm kind of like neutral on this one, which a lot of people are surprised about. She's towards the end of her career. So like, she deserves her flowers. She deserves to be happy. But I also think that if you're going to leave, like, you're going to have to expect getting booed. Like,
Was there explanation when it happened? No. Not even privately? Yeah, I mean, okay. That's tough. And, yeah, okay. Well, I did say what? Unless you leave on some you type shit, and that's what that is, so.
Would then craft it into a well-sourced article and present it to the public on the media's terms. Controlled timing, controlled framing, controlled impact. After taking a glance at that, Sophie replied, yeah, no. She was the one who told it, and she did so more effectively than any outsider could because she lived it there. She had the platform, the background.
Like, I'm still rooting for her. Like, I want her to end her career and be happy. But I also think that, like, it's okay to be professional about it. And, like, send a text to your teammates. Send a text and be like, hey, like, love you guys. Or you don't even have to say love you guys. Just like, hey, sorry this didn't work out. Good luck. Da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? Like, there's a way to handle that, I think.
And the first-hand credibility to make the statement without seeking consent. A degree of autonomy that Caitlin Clark and other Fever players are not allowed to have by the mainstream media. 6. The strategic bombshell that everyone else missed is right here. Sophie's podcast features more than simply her in a garage. Microphone. Colin Coward's sports media empire. The volume is in charge of its distribution. That is the first significant intersection of mainstream sports media power and WNBA players. Material. She wasn't brought on as a token gesture to support women's sports or for charitable purposes, because they saw what ESPN was unable to. They signed her. That authentic, player-driven narrative consistently outperforms politically safe, antiseptic coverage. It's just that transaction makes a big impression. WNBA players are no longer confined to their niche in women's sports. They may enter the mainstream sports arena right away and engage with a larger, more demanding audience that is more interested in learning the truth and less concerned with upholding the status quo. Other players will discover they don't require the middlemen as a result of Sophie's success. The traditional media guard is beginning to perspire for precisely that reason. According to rumors, major sports networks are reportedly vying for WNBA players to appear on their own programs. Why? Because Sophie demonstrated that there is a sizable market for uncensored player content, and that viewers will consistently select it over ESPN's corporately sanctioned narratives. Our league contains some very talented and well-known individuals. I'm not disparaging them in any way. So if our league is full with badasses, absolutely, without a doubt, wholeheartedly support that. However, you're as stupid as hell if you try to claim that she isn't the face of our league, or that we wouldn't be where we are now without her. Yes, you're genuinely stupid. The leagues protect the veterans. Code is being broken by Sophie. The one that asserts that you never call out the inner circle, reveal the politics, or give supporters cause to doubt. Particular idols? After examining that unwritten contract, Sophie declared it to be broken. She was honest about Bonner's tumultuous leaving because it was true, not because it was convenient or secure. And the readiness to prioritize the truth over politics. While the traditional media has been too afraid to touch it, Caitlin Clark's enormous fan following and other new WNBA fans have been hankering after that very thing. One of the greatest WNBA stars ever, who is that? Bram Schmeitlin was her name? Yes, indeed. What has it been like to watch her not only sort of change a league, but also to be like, not just the league, but women's basketball at large globally? No, I believe it's fantastic. I find it hilarious that the entire world is observing her at the age of 22 or 23. Sophie Cunningham addressed the very fans that the previous WNBA media apparatus had been ignoring for months in her ferocious support of Caitlin Clark. Clark simply need time, timelines, and flimsy pleas for balance. Whereas legacy journalists cautiously wrapped her story, Sophie termed the critics of Clark utterly stupid. She meant each and every word. That is a well-thought-out masterstroke, in addition to being genuine. Sophie focused on Clark's the league's most ardent and rapidly expanding fan base, and spoke to them in their own words, rather than the stale jargon of the media elite. Her engagement figures demonstrated that her decision to prioritize expansion over exclusion was a wise one. You have witnessed players in our league attempt to make Caitlin more resilient. Even when I wasn't on her squad, we still referred to her as CCCC. For example, I am aware of the conversations Phoenix had in the locker room about no, we're going to prove her. We will demonstrate to her the true nature of the W. Do you understand what I mean? I understand it to a certain degree. So that's how you're going to handle any rookie entering the league. However, there's simply more because it keeps them. As the required interpreters, the traditional sports press encourages athletes to only utilize sanitized comments that have been approved by sponsors. But that entire intermediary layer is rendered useless when Sophie speaks bluntly and honestly. Fans can get her message without a reporter's help. She states it clearly and everyone understands. Traditional journalists get chills just thinking about that. What precisely are the gatekeepers offering if athletes like Sophie and Caitlin are able to reach millions of people, amass enormous fan bases, and manage their stories without their help? Controlled access served as the foundation for their whole business strategy. They allegedly had the platforms and connections that players required. Sophie just demonstrated that was untrue. Now that I'm a member of her team, and it's her second year, I'm wondering what everyone is doing. In actuality, it's simply too much. Too much. Additionally, this transition is about more than simply one player discovering her voice. If I'm saying it's too much, then I'm over. Sophie's achievement is establishing a new benchmark for communication among all WNBA players. The same degree of unvarnished, unadulterated honesty is now expected of others by fans. The cookie-cutter once commonplace. PR-approved comments are now viewed as corporate and phony. Other players are examining Sophie's stats and the influence she has amassed. They're wondering why they continue to let media gatekeepers to filter their messages when they might be addressing the public directly. The incentive structure has completely changed. This forecast is going to keep conventional editors up at night. Following Sophie's cut out the middleman template, at least a few well-known WNBA players will debut their own shows in less than 6 months. There is the proof of concept. Sophie did more than damage the WNBA's media apparatus. She revealed that the object had always been brittle, only because players felt they required traditional coverage more than traditional coverage needed them. Did the structure operate? Sophie dispelled that myth and demonstrated that a genuine, direct relationship with fans is far more useful than pre-written corporate messaging. I'm not implying that your work is simple, but what are you doing when a straightforward call is made repeatedly in front of your face? What are you doing? Call are you? Like, completely bugged out. It seems as though they are incredibly unreliable. As if I'm into it. For example, you'll be all right without me if you're on the opposing team. Yes, that's cool. However, let me. To do it to you, the yes. Do you understand? So you want consistency? Yes. Like, just give. Just get. And I believe that includes players from all over the league as well as new supporters from all over the nation. Everyone seems to be asking, what is going on with the refs? And my response is, I don't know. And it won't do if you fine me $500. This is the section that the old guard never grasped. Fans of sports aren't watching for courteous, safe interactions. Rivalry, competition, and emotion are what they're here for. To prevent controversy, WNBA coverage has been sanitized into a clitched, everyone respects everyone's storyline for years. Sophie demonstrated that the contrary is true. Crowds are drawn to conflict, and loyalty is fueled by sincere passion. She transformed criticism into credibility and stress into traction. That is a significant change from a business perspective. Sophie's actions will alter the structure of WNBA contracts. Players will suddenly be aware of their own market value, which will raise questions about sponsor duties, social media prohibitions, and media appearance clauses. Why would Sophie consent to being muzzled if she could reach 1.6 million people directly without using a PR filter? Why would she follow the script if her honesty garners greater attention than any pre-approved talking point? Additionally, a couple of girls are asking stupid questions. Would someone be required to refer to the game differently if they had spent their entire lives calling it men's basketball, then switched to women's basketball? Based only on the physicality and style, for example, the scramble has begun, and the power dynamics have shifted. Some media organizations may attempt to adjust by granting greater flexibility and easing restrictions on their platforms. Others will stick with traditional access journalism and use team pressure to discipline players. The most astute operators, however, will completely change their strategy and work with players rather than attempting to dominate them. Furthermore, this isn't just a WNBA shift. Any professional sport could use Sophie's model. When the narrative is compelling, raw, uncensored athlete voices will always outperform sterile corporate content. The opinion of someone who is in the locker room will always be trusted by fans more than a well-written editorial by someone who wasn't. In the past, fans were viewed as consumers and players as sources. In Sophie's approach, supporters are included in the discussion, and players are treated as creators. That is the underlying cause of the current media crisis. The thing that bothers me the most about female referees is how emotional they are, similar to the males. No, the NBA and its officials are like the NBA players, who hate them as much as I did when I worked in broadcasting. I have attended games. I have friendships with these individuals. They asked Diana. Taurasi is the only woman I've ever seen who can mother a ref on the women's side. They also prefer to accept it. Yes, they were forced to. Additionally, she is arguably among the worst individuals I have ever witnessed target referees. The fact that Sophie's influence is unrelated to her box office performance is even more frightening to the traditional media guard. Unaffected by her on-court statistics, her platform thrives. She has demonstrated that a player can be a media force without becoming the league MVP. All they need to do is be genuine, interesting, and open to communicating with their audience directly. The media power system, where only the stars had a megaphone before, has been completely rewritten. Sophie utilized the Bonner incident to demonstrate a completely new strategy for communicating with fans of athletes, even when it may have been a thrilling match, even if it upsets some people. Being genuine attracts more interest and loyalty than the most well-crafted press release. She went right to the supporters who genuinely cared. Eschewing the interpreters, outlets that adjust to this and work with athletes will be able to survive. Those that don't will eventually become obsolete. As for the others, I'm not saying they're emotional like the men and women. It doesn't matter what gender they are too emotionally invested and can't handle it. I wonder if this is something new to the WNBA, or if talking more back to the referees has always been a thing for her. The emergence of athlete-toned sports media is currently underway, and Sophie Cunningham has emerged as the movement's spokesperson, whether she intended to or not. The established elite must either change and provide players with something they truly need, or risk losing their relevance as celebrities like Sophie and Caitlin Clark establish their own direct empires. The media landscape surrounding the WNBA has already changed from even 6 months ago. The funeral has just not yet taken place. Sophie demonstrated that authenticity will always defeat corporate messaging when players have the platform. Traditionalists are in a complete panic, since every player now understands they are not required to play the access game. Their strategy was based on limited access and fictitious scarcity. Both were destroyed by Sophie. Leave a hot Sophie remark. To show your support for Sophie, turn on all notifications, like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next video. Click the video on the screen.